proud to serve northeastern and central Pennsylvania. This is WNEP 16, the news station. Now, Nolan Johannes, Karen Harch, Chief Meteorologist Tom Clark with his backyard forecast, and Joe Zone on sports. This is the Newswatch 16 update.
Good evening. There was a lot of litter all over Kidder tonight.
In fact, Kidder Street in Wilkes-Barre looked like a giant litter box. Officials used kitty litter to sop up a spill. Water that was used to wash off chrome engine parts spilled all over the road. Nightly reporter Kathy Bellich says the spill was not hazardous, but it caused a lot of commotion.
There was lots of litter on Kidder Street in Wilkes-Barre. Kitty litter, that is. Kitty litter was the solution to the chromium waste spill here. It was used to absorb the liquid. Part of Kidder Street, right at the crossing with Scott Street, had to be blocked off from traffic for about an hour while crews swept up the litter. The policemen were having a really tough time maneuvering traffic at this busy intersection because they were not following the traffic lights, and many drivers were getting confused. At the height of confusion, these two vehicles ended up face to face. The drivers didn't know what to do. Could this spill have happened at a better place?
At a better place? Yeah, like a one-way street.
What do you call all this?
What do I call it? Chaos.
Late in the afternoon, a hazardous waste truck traveling through here was hauling the chromium waste out of state for dumping. The truck belongs to BES Environmental Specialists of Kingston, which is in the business of keeping these wastes from polluting the environment.
Well, we're not very pleased by it, but it was just a matter of the bulkhead hatch working itself loose. Car pulled in front of the driver, and when he slammed on the brakes, everything sloshed forward and some sloshed out.
Some 30 to 50 gallons of this stuff used to rinse off chromium-plated engine parts. State environmental officials echo the company's assurances that unless swallowed, the spill would not endanger anyone. Kathy Bellich, Newswatch 16, Wilkes-Barre.
The city of Scranton wants to make sure all flooded homeowners will be able to get federal grants and loans if the money is okayed by the president.
Tonight, Mayor James McNulty told us in a City Hall news conference that the city is paying for 1 year of flood insurance for any home that was damaged by Hurricane Gloria floods. The reason? Because people applying for any federal aid cannot get the money unless they agree to buy federal flood insurance.
And since most of these people have suffered this hardship and are without the resources to even get the flood insurance, that's why they didn't have it in the first place. We want to make sure that all of the flood victims are eligible for the SBA loans and grants.
McNulty estimated 500 homes have been hit by floods in Scranton, and the city will use $100,000 from block grant funds to pay the $200 premium for insurance for each home.
And the mayor adds he hopes the homeowners will be able to sign up for the free flood insurance, 1 year of it, and also any federal aid that might be coming in one visit. And hopefully that will be to the old Oppenheim department store within the next week to 10 days. Exact time and place to be announced in the next few days. Karen?
Some of you who have been without water for almost a week now may notice some water coming out of the tap tonight. Well, PG&W says slowly water service is being restored to thousands of people who have been cut off because of water main problems. PG&W says all customers from the Avoca area south to Plains Township should have water again sometime tomorrow, but there could be a lot of chlorine in the water. In the meantime, Newswatch 16's Bob Reynolds says this dry spell is costing businesses a lot of money.
If this was any other week, the parking lot at this Pittston Township motel would be filled. Now it's deserted. Go inside, and you'll find the hallways empty and no one in the rooms. At the front desk, employees are turning away customers because there's no water.
To give you an idea of just what it cost us so far, put them in about 95% accuracy, it's about $24,684 we figure right now in lost revenue to us.
If the water isn't turned on soon, manager Louis Del Vecchio says he'll lose $10,000 in the next 2 days because he's booked solid.
Do you think the company's going to pay their water bill for this week?
Well, I'm going to leave that up to the corporate. Thank God, let those fellows handle it. We have a legal department. Let them handle that.
Customers going into the motel's restaurant are met with this sign, warning them of the problem, but promising to serve them the best way possible.
It's amazing how used to having water you get, and you really don't realize the problems you'll have until you don't have it.
Restaurant manager Richard Pisa says his food trade is down by about half. Officials here say that insurance will reimburse them for their losses, but they add that nothing can compensate them and their customers for the aggravation they've gone through during the last week. Bob Reynolds, Newswatch 16, Pittston Township.
A huge cave-in caused by Hurricane Gloria is just about filled in. We showed you the big crater in Laughlin on Friday night. The yard was apparently washed away down a mine shaft. Since then, crews have filled up most of the hole. They're now waiting for a special rock to be put into the Laughlin mine shaft. Federal environmental officials say money to clean up the Butler Mine Tunnel in Pittston may run out soon. Toxic wastes from the mine tunnel began pouring into the Susquehanna River after Friday's rains. So far, the EPA has spent more than $128,000 on the cleanup, but officials say if Congress doesn't okay more money for Superfund, the state may have to pick up the tab for cleaning up the wastes in the Susquehanna River.
It could be 3 months before the Unit 1 reactor at TMI is back up to full power. Officials at the nuclear power plant say everything's going smoothly tonight. The undamaged reactor was fired up today after being shut down for more than 6 years. Newswatch 16's Dan Fiorucci was at 3 Mile Island and says the restart came not with a bang, but with a whimper.
These meters will go up slightly from 0, and that will indicate that we have a self-sustaining reaction.
A barely perceptible movement in an indicator, a barely visible stream of vapor, and TMI Unit 1 was restarted at low power.
Everything went very, very smoothly. We're very pleased.
The operators of 3 Mile Island have spent $100 million on new control room safety equipment to prevent future accidents. But that wasn't enough for protesters who demonstrated in Harrisburg, 12 miles away. They said protesting near an operating TMI was too dangerous.
I think it should be closed.
Some people who live near 3 Mile Island agreed with the protesters. Others didn't.
It's about time that they get it started back up and use the energy that they can harness.
Once TMI is producing commercial electricity in about 3 months, it's expected to save ratepayers here $70 million a year on their electric bills.
While Unit 1 is powering up, Unit 2, the damaged reactor, sits idle right next door. Authorities say work to clean partially melted nuclear fuel from the 1979 accident should begin here later this year. Dan Fiorucci, Newswatch 16, 3 Mile Island.
It looks as though it's going to cost Bell of Pennsylvania customers more to hear the dial tone. Today, the Public Utility Commission indicated it would vote to allow the phone company to charge more than the $3.71 we now pay. How much more hasn't been decided. That dial tone charge is only for hooking into the phone system, not the cost of making calls. The PUC is scheduled to vote on that case in 2 weeks.
Coming up, some new hope for victims of multiple sclerosis.
Plus, a little later, the biggest pair of jeans we've ever seen. We'll tell you what they mean as Newswatch 16 Update continues.
The Warriors squared off against the Spartans on a muggy Friday night in Houston as Bednarski, Kopechny, Russo, and company crunched, blocked, fought, and passed their way in the Warrior Harch. And even though they crushed Spartan hopes of an unbeaten season, there were no losers the next morning, because it was all there to read about in the Times-Leader, where our beat is your hometown.
Some Republicans in Congress have come up with a plan to balance the federal budget by 1990. And as ABC's Charles Gibson says, the idea is getting a lot of support in Washington.
Here in the Senate, as for the House.
The plan put forth by Senators Graham and Rudman would mandate balanced budgets by 1990. And until that time would require the President and Congress to sharply reduce the deficits. Such plans have been around before. This one, however, has an enforcement mechanism. If Congress and the President failed to meet the annual mandates, if they spent too much, then the budget for every department in the government except Social Security would have its funding reduced until the deficit targets were met. In a Congress desperate about deficits, this plan is running through the Senate like wildfire, and House leaders say it may well pass there also. Senator Graham is optimistic.
I believe we're going to win in the Senate. I believe we're going to give the House of Representatives an opportunity to show who is for real on dealing with the deficit. And I think we have an excellent opportunity to see a comprehensive reform of the budget process.
Could the deficits be reduced as drastically as this bill calls for without a big tax increase? Republicans on the Hill say it could, others aren't so sure. But Senate Leader Dole says the idea has caught on, and the president, he said, is expected to endorse the proposal Friday morning at the White House. Charles Gibson, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
A nationally known restaurant chain is bringing some new friendly neighbors to our area. Friendly Ice Cream Corporation, that already has an outlet in Wilkes-Barre, has bought 12 Franklin's restaurants. All but 2 of them are in our area. In fact, one of the Franklins is right down the road from Friendly's. The company says for now, the Franklins will operate as Franklin's, but eventually they could be converted into Friendly's. A Kingston woman who claims she was hurt in a Cabbage Patch doll frenzy is suing for at least $20,000 in damages. You may remember these scenes from 2 years ago at the Zare department store in Wilkes-Barre. Dorothy Swainbank and her husband have filed a lawsuit against the store and the store manager. The woman says she suffered a broken leg and other injuries while buying a Cabbage Patch doll in the middle of all this. The suit filed in Luzerne County Court charges that the store did not distribute the dolls in an orderly manner.
A doctor in Chicago has some encouraging news for victims of multiple sclerosis. The researcher at Rush Medical College says a drug called 4-aminopyridine may relieve the weakness and poor muscle control that MS victims suffer from. An 18-month-old liver transplant patient from Clark Summit is back in the hospital tonight. This is what baby Jason Johnson looked like last August after receiving his new liver. A drug he was taking caused the unusual hair growth. Now we're told that Jason is having problems with his liver, and doctors say he'll have to get another liver transplant. The doctors say Jason is strong and can handle another operation. Next, meteorologist Tom Clark will be telling us what kind of weather we will be having for Friday night football.
And I know all the guys in the sports department are wondering if it's going to be another washout.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I've been able to pull some strings tonight, and I think you're going to see some improvement coming tomorrow. I'll be right back to tell you about that and some unusual weather in Europe.
Time to brighten up your home or office at half the price. Now at Acme, all plants and plant accessories are half price. Pick up hanging plants like pothos and ferns, potted plants like jades, mums, and palms, plus half price on all traditional and contemporary photo frames, framed pictures, and poster art. But hurry, you have only 72 hours this Thursday through Saturday to save half price on all plants and plant accessories and half price on all photo frames and framed pictures at Acme.
For most of the year, it waits, but the time will come for it to perform. That's why you want a Simplicity. You know whatever winter throws at you, a Simplicity can throw it back. Simplicities have the power, durability, and features to stand up to winter's worst blows. When the time comes, remember, there's no substitute for simplicity.
There are only 2 things about the latest space shuttle that cannot be kept secret: the name and the liftoff. NASA says today's launch of the shuttle Atlantis went off without a hitch. It's the first flight for Atlantis. It's on a military mission. That's why everything's hush-hush. All that NASA will say is that the crew is okay, but sources say the crew will deploy 2 military satellites that can resist radiation.
All right, nice weather there for that liftoff.
Yeah. Sure.
Let's see how what the backyard is like. Tom?
Okay, not too much different from last night. It's still very damp and cool outside. There's been just some spotty drizzle and some fog over the mountains this evening. And as I see it now, it looks like the weather pattern is going to be shifting gears a little bit as we head into the weekend. Outside now, under cloudy skies, the temperature here where I'm standing is at 55. Humidity 88%. The wind east at 4, and the barometer is rising just a bit now, 30.11. High today, 56 degrees. I say only 56. Normal is 67. 50, the low so far today, 84 and 34, the records. And the range a year ago, 63 and 43. A view from along Wyoming Avenue in Scranton tonight showing some of that exhaust from the steam heating system they have there. Need a little bit of heat tonight, but not so over in Europe. As a matter of fact, temperatures soared into the 80s today in Switzerland, making it the warmest October day this century. And Swiss meteorologists say that it was the remnants of Hurricane Gloria that developed a very intense storm system, which in turn brought warm air up from the south from off the Mediterranean Sea. So they're enjoying that, I suppose. Here's the latest satellite image just in. Still the clouds over Pennsylvania, that stationary front along the east coast, putting down some rain, most of it south and east of us. But there's still a few pockets of light rain and drizzle showing up, and they'll be skirting up like so overnight tonight. But look at the breaks to the west. I think more of a westerly flow with the steering winds will bring some of this air over Pennsylvania tomorrow. Then another surge of very cool air now entering the northern plains will begin to work its way in over the weekend and bring us just the chance for some scattered showers, but no prolonged cloudiness or rain over the next few days. Look at the temperatures across the nation tomorrow. Cool spots will be up in the northern plains, 50s and 40s up that way. We'll be in the 60s across most of Pennsylvania. The 70s getting close. The heat wave continues out in Southern California. Readings there today were close to 100. They'll be in the 90s again tomorrow out in that part of the country. But for us, it will get better after a slow and dreary start. A little light rain early in the morning, but that should move out, and I think the sun will begin to break through in the afternoon, and that will help temperatures to recover into the middle 60s in Nanticoke, Rummerfield 65, Greeley 64, Lansford 66. Comfortable in Mifflinburg tomorrow with the wind coming out of the south. A sunrise will occur at 7:02 tomorrow morning, and it will set at 6:41. Here's my Weather Watch forecast. It'll stay cloudy tonight, some clearing tomorrow, about 65. Now, for the football games tomorrow night, it should be okay. I think partly cloudy, but more showers will develop later on tomorrow night. Leading into a partly sunny Saturday, still the risk of an afternoon shower, but cooler heading into Sunday. We'll have the latest again tomorrow for you.
Okay, Tom.
Thanks,
Good
Tom.
night. Thank you.
Coming up, Joe Zone with the very latest on what's going on with the pennant races.
Plus, a look at the guy who's leading the Heisman race on the Sports Watch next.
Presenting Bonanza's Giant Ribeye Dinner. A magical treat for only $5.99. An extra large ribeye, a steaming baked potato, all you can eat Fresh-Tastics food bar. Our Giant Ribeye Dinner makes hunger disappear like magic. How do we do it for only $5.99? That's our secret. Bonanza's Giant Ribeye Dinner, only $5.99, and that's no illusion.
To those whose lives are filled with all the stimulation they need, we offer Pepsi Free, made with absolutely no caffeine. The only stimulating thing about it is that exhilarating Pepsi taste. Caffeine-free Pepsi Free, because life is stimulating enough. Available in regular and diet.
Remember when the Mets and Cards series first began? Joe said the Cards only had one game.
One game, I remember.
What happened, Joe?
Well, that's all they need. They're ahead right now. If they win this game, they're up by 2.
Oh, this game.
They only have to win 1 out of the 3, and if they lost the first 2, the screen has the story. The Mets did win the first 2, but the Cards leading right now. If they win, they are 2 up with just 3 games to go. Let's take a look at where it stands so far, and we'll go to today's plays to do it. Mets and the Cards, the big series. And look at Hernandez. He's had a great night so far, but it hasn't been enough. This one's off the wall. The throw's to the plate, and he's safe. And the Mets lead 1-0. Now, the Mets really, they got 4 hits in the inning, but here's a great play by Pendleton. He's coming home in time, out, and they get out of that inning, the Cards, just by giving up 1 run. Now, Porter, watch this. He's playing at home. Ball looks like it's going to stay in play, but it doesn't, and the fan helps out. Get out of my way. That doesn't count. He went into the stand, so it's all legal. Now, run scores on the forced play right here, and then Coleman. That ties the game. Now, Coleman right here. Other way, a double to drive into the Cards. Take a 3-1 lead. Keith Hernandez, though, gets back into the act. Watch Hernandez. Another double for him. That drives in a run. That makes it 3-2. But the Cards right now get a single from McGee. They're leading. The score is 4-2. Let's go to the scoreboard. Check it out in the National League. St. Louis leading 4-2. If they hold on, it's now 4-3 as you see it change. 4-3. If the Cards hold on, they're up by 2. Phillies beat Montreal tonight. Final score there, 8-7. The Yankees have not quite yet thrown in the towel. They beat the Brewers tonight. At the same time, Toronto lost. It's 3 games with 3 in Toronto starting tomorrow. Take a look in today's plays. Ricky Henderson. Number 24 on his back, number 24 home run right here for the Yankees, leading off the game, and the Yankees lead 1-0 in the rain in New York. Maybe the final game they'll play in New York this year. Ron Guidry, awesome tonight. Look at the strikeouts right here. He had 7 of them before leaving after 7 innings. And then Don Mattingly, 144 RBIs, 2 right here, 3-0. The Yankees win 3-zip. Guidry gets the win because help from the Tigers. Look at this. Brookins with a double in the 5th. Drives in 2 runs, and the Tigers go up on Toronto 2-0. Walt Tyrrell on the mound doing the job. Here's a strikeout. Toronto has lost 3 straight. They're going home for the champagne. That's Don Sutton. And there's a home run ball to White. 2-0. Kansas City leads in this game early on, playing California with the series all tied. Now, Balboni, ex-Yankee, home run deep, number 36 for him, 3-0. George Brett, you talk about clutch, 3 home runs in this big 3-game series. Here's number 28. That made it 4-0, 4-1 the final as Kansas City wins it. Take a look at it now on the scoreboard. The Yankees 3-zip, Detroit 2-zip, 3 games in Toronto starting tomorrow, and Toronto has a 3-game lead. Kansas City now a game up in the American League West with the win over California. The pennant race story, as I said, looks like this. Dodgers have already won the West. In the American League West, Kansas City up by a game. The Mets 2 or 1, 2 or even, depending on what happens tonight, and the Yankees 3 back. Playoffs, by the way, start next week. Expanded this year for the first time to 7 games. The umpires don't like the extra games, of course. They want modest increases, and they're talking about strike. Well, it was the ability to make the big play, sometimes the spectacular play. Remember this one that helped Doug Flutie win the Heisman Trophy last year? Well, this year, it's quarterback Chuck Long making the big play. Long has led the undefeated Hawkeyes of Iowa to the #1 ranking, pinpoint passing. The 6'4" quarterback has a 60% completion average. He's thrown for 10 touchdowns.
Getting the Heisman Trophy is how well your team does, and if we continue to do well as a team, then things like that might fall into place, but I'm not going to really worry about it at this point. I'm not going to let the Heisman Trophy dictate how well I'm going to play this year. You know, I think if I was worried about the Heisman Trophy all year, I think it would hamper my performance a little bit. So I'm not going to worry about it and put that added pressure on me at all.
Iowa's Chuck Long leading the Heisman race. Okay, let's take a look at Pocono Downs now tonight. 3rd race, big triple, number 8. Take a look at the numbers, folks. Boy, I like to have this once in my life. 8, 3, and 7, 6,677.70. And fish and game forecast for tomorrow. Best time is at 5:30 a.m.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Still ahead, a story that's a real giant.
But first, here are tonight's winning lottery numbers. The daily number, 487, and the big 4 number, 2136. We'll be right back.
Join the grandest celebration ever in the Wyoming Valley at Wyoming Valley Motors. See their spacious new showroom where there's room for more BMWs, more Pontiacs, and more Subarus. Wyoming Valley Motors now has a larger parts department and service area, body shop with the finest equipment and personnel in the region. Stop in for the best deals and savings on new and used cars. Customer satisfaction is standard equipment. Come see what the new breed of automotive dealer is all about at the grand opening celebration at Wyoming Valley Motors, Pontiac, BMW, Subaru. Don't you finally deserve the best?
Finally, tonight, you may have seen some husky pairs of jeans in your day, but this is ridiculous.
Take a look at a size 426. That's 426 pair of jeans. The jeans are 54 feet long and have a 35-foot waist, of course. The American textile industry took the giant jeans to the steps of Capitol Hill today to protest President Reagan's trade policies. Organizers collected thousands of signatures on the jeans from textile workers in 15 states. Now that the protest is over, there's a rumor that they may use the jeans to give New York's Statue of Liberty a Western look. I don't believe that, Joe.
Just crossed my mother-in-law off the Christmas list.
That's Newswatch 16 update for tonight.
Nightline is next for the team. Thank you for joining us.
Good night.